a couple moments, couple minutes to review calculations. Okay. Now, one of the steps that makes a big difference is calculating. Okay, calculating numbers. Sometimes you're gonna save the customer a certain amount of money, so you're gonna calculate the savings. In other cases, you're gonna calculate you're gonna break it down practically. So let's say, for example, you're gonna break it down to the smallest quantity. So one of the scenarios, let's say a customer is gonna pay $150 every 3 months. Okay, $150 every 3 months, and he has 2 cars. Now, breaking it to the smallest quantity technically means 150 divided by 3. So technically, he's only making payments of $50 monthly.
Right.
Now, when you tell a customer, look, you're paying 150 every 3 months, even though it's for 3 months, it's still 150. When you break it down and you tell them, look, you're only paying $50 a month, it sounds a lot better because the quantity is smaller. Okay? Now, if we divide 50 into 2, it's $25 per vehicle. Okay? Per car. So when you're convincing the customer, you emphasize on, look, you're only paying $50 every single month. If we do the math, 150 divided by 3, that's 50. 50 divided by 2, because definitely you have 2 vehicles, you're literally paying $25. So $25 is a lot more appealing. It convinces the customer, it sounds better. Okay, it's a lot less than the 150. So you'll convince the customer based on $25 per car instead of telling them 150 every 3 months. It's more of a psychological strategy, you could say.
Right.
The numbers are lower. Okay. Another situation could be the following. Let's say, for example, we have 2 customers, for example, and they're getting the policy together. Okay. Let's say the monthly payment is $110, and the total to activate the policy is $280. Now, $280 sounds a lot higher. If you break it down to the smallest quantity, you tell them, look, what $280 divided by 2, you're only paying $140 each. Now they're not looking at the $280 anymore. They're looking at $140.
Right.
Now $140 is a lot better than the $280. Even though realistically they're still going to do the math themselves, but they're not going to look at it the way we're looking at it. Okay, so by emphasizing on the fact that, look, you break it down in half, $140 each. $140 sounds a lot better than $280.
Exactly.
They're gonna ask themselves, well, who's gonna pay what? Does it make sense? Are we gonna divide it in half, or how much are you gonna pay? How much am I gonna pay? When you go straight to the point, it's just $140 each. And then obviously the monthly payment, you could do the same thing. If it's 2 cars, you divide it by half, it's $55. So technically you're paying $140 to activate the policy, you're only paying $55 a month. Sounds a lot better. Okay? Sounds a lot better than just going with the total. Okay, so breaking it down into the smallest quantity. Another example, let's say you're paying $750 throughout the whole year.
Right.
Okay, so you divide it by 12. Okay, you go based on 6250. Okay, so you break it down, and then if you have 2-3 vehicles, you'll divide those 6250 into the amount of vehicles. In this case, let's say it's 3 cars, then in reality they're paying $20.83 per car. So you're telling them, look, you're paying $750 throughout the whole year, but let me give you the reality of the situation. Let me break it down into the smallest quantity. In this case, you're paying $62 a month, which is not bad at all. And once again, you're paying $20 per vehicle. It can't get better than that. You're able to convince them a lot more on the fact that $20 is true.
Right.
I mean, lower than 20, it's very difficult to obtain. So you convince them on breaking it into the smallest quantity. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Do you have any questions as far as this?
No.
Just some simple math. You divide it by the monthly. You divide it by the amount of vehicles, okay, or sometimes the amount of drivers, and you break it down, and it's a lot lower.
I do have one question. What if the coverages aren't the same on both vehicles?
If the coverages are not the same, I mean, you could definitely do a small calculation. Let's say, for example, 60-40, or let's say 75-25. So let's say, for example, if you have, let's say, 3 vehicles, let's say, for example, right? And it's 140, correct?
Correct.
140 monthly payment. What I usually do, and something very basic, okay? It's not it's not accurate or wrong, it's just a simple way of calculating this. What I would do is I would do 60%, 65% for full coverage, so in that case it would be 91. Now, 140 divided by, 140 minus the 91, we're looking at 49, and the 49 will be divided into 2. So technically, we would tell the customer, look, you're paying $25 for the liability, and you're paying 91 for the full coverage, depending on the vehicle. Or sometimes you could go a little bit lower, you could go 60 for it. Okay, maybe $80 for full coverage, for example. And then it'll be, the difference will be 140 minus 80. Then you're looking at 60 for liability divided by 2, you're paying $30. So something, like you said, something within the 60-40 type of range.
Perfect.
Okay? Any other questions besides that?
Not Tom.
So once again, you break it down into the smallest quantity so that they can see the smallest number.